The new progressive fight. Yes, indeed, America, it is true. There's a lot of things. I think, one, we obviously know we have a war on poverty that we continue to fight as a progressive movement. But to help that war on poverty, the new fight, America, the new fight has got to include universal childcare. Universal childcare is becoming a central pillar of the liberal agenda. One that, if ever realized, could take its place alongside the great progressive reforms of the 21st century, possibly even better than the Affordable Care Act. And here's why. Here are the facts. What we know is that when kids get to school earlier, when they start reading earlier, when they start learning letters earlier, they become more valuable members of society, number one. But number two, there's a universal pre-K proposal that is meant to function as a federal-state partnership. It will provide over $30 billion in federally backed grant funding over 5 years to states that provide high-quality, universal, available preschool programs for 4-year-olds from families earning less than the 200% of the federal poverty line, which is roughly around $48,000 a year. Now, D.C. has already done this. And what we've seen here in the District of Columbia is you see test scores going up. Now, you know I'm not a big fan. Richard Fowler is not a big fan of hyper-testing our kids. But I think that testing serves as a benchmark, right? And because testing serves as a benchmark, what we are seeing is when kids get into schools earlier, when they are learning earlier, when their minds are being developed earlier, we're seeing that come out, and we're seeing that show in the 11th grade and the 12th grade. Now, D.C. they just started a universal child care about 3 or 4 years ago, so we have to wait, 10 years to figure out what really will be the impact of it. But what we're seeing now is if we can get kids in school earlier, before kindergarten, pre-K, right, we can see major improvements. Now, this shouldn't even necessarily be a progressive issue versus a conservative issue. This should just be an American issue. But yet still, you have those out there. Those Republicans out there who are adamantly against this piece of legislation. Now, this is going to be all part of the overhaul of No Child Left Behind, which literally left America's children behind. It's called the Strong Start for America's Children Amendment, and it's proposed by Senator Bob Casey. Now, everybody should pay attention to what this means. This is going to be the beginning of something great in America. Now, obviously, this still has to get through the Republican House and the Republican-controlled Senate, and it's going to be very much an uphill climb. But, folks, now more than ever, we have got to rally the troops. Wherever you are, whether you live in the state of Pennsylvania all the way to Oregon, now, America, is the time to rally the troops behind universal health, universal child care for families who are part of the middle class. If we want to make America great, we have got to compete with the world leaders when it comes to education. Finland, even in Korea and Japan, they're getting these kids in school earlier. I benefited from going to preschool because my mom had the ability to send me to preschool. And because of that, I've become a more quote-unquote valuable member of society. Not saying that folks who haven't went to preschool aren't valuable members of society, but what I'm saying here is if you can get kids into school earlier and get their minds developed earlier, you can move them in the right direction. Now, this is no political stunt. Universal health care is fastly growing the top priority for progressives and Democrats all across the country. The Center for American Progress is talking about it. The Roosevelt Institute is talking about it. Bernie Sanders is pushing for it. Hillary Clinton is pushing for it because they all understand that if you fund early childhood, you can make a better America, right? And that starts right here. That starts right now. That starts today, and it starts with you guys at home. We've got to become part of the change that we want to seek in this world. And if we want a better society for our children, it starts by funding early childhood education and paying. Now, let's not only fund it, but let's fund it properly so that we're making sure that highly qualified early childhood professionals are going to the profession. We are urging young people who are leaving college, who are getting degrees, to get degrees in early childhood education and become part of the solution. We can complain about the problem all we want to, America, but we really should. We've got to. It is of our utmost importance that we really focus on being the solution and not just complaining about the problem. So, get out there. call your member of Congress, call your senator, and say, now is a time for universal child care. Support the Casey Amendment. But beyond that, even if this amendment fails, we might have lost the battle, but the war still rages on. If we want to truly eliminate poverty, let's see what LBJ did when he created the ESCA, or the Elementary Secondary Education Act, in the 60s, because he understood this is the biggest civil rights law ever passed in this country, and we can continue that by funding early childhood and funding it right now. We're right back.